Welcome back to Blumira Briefings, your weekly download of the top headlines and trends for your security practice. The special of the day this Friday is a triple-decker of stack layer failures. Researchers shockingly discovered an unpatched privilege escalation bug in Windows. The GRU turned somebody's office router into a credential vending machine without using any minions. And a CVSS 10 flaw in an AI platform is reminding us that move fast and break things hits different when the thing that breaks is authentication. So, here's a fun one. Security researchers publicly disclosed a Windows 0 day that they're calling BlueHammer, complete with working proof of concept code. The flaw sits in a core OS component and could give attackers unauthenticated code execution or privilege escalation. The POC being public means that the barrier to exploitation is, will someone copy and paste something from GitHub? Every script kiddie with a weekend free is looking at this right now. There's no patch, just vibes and monitoring. If you're a Windows shop, and let's be honest, you're at least partially a Windows shop, this is the one to watch this week. So Jake, when there's no patch and the POC is already public, what is the actual playbook behind watching and waiting?
Hey everybody, let's talk a little bit about BlueHammer and what it means to us defenders out there. Yes, it does have a scary name, and most exploits out there that have scary names tend to get everybody up in arms and panicking. My first piece of advice that I want to say is just don't panic. I think this mostly has a lot of news going behind it just because of the drama with the threat researcher and Microsoft, how they responded to the reported vulnerability and all that. So I think that's really why this is getting picked up in the news, not necessarily the impact of the vulnerability itself. It is a serious one. It will get an attacker system level privileges on an endpoint. It does affect Windows 10 machine 1709 plus with Defender active. It does happen to be a Defender, like an abuse of Defender, and how it works with its signature update files. And really, I'm not going to see, I'm not imagining this one's going to be weaponized anytime soon. There's a lot of other easier low-hanging fruit for attackers to abuse. This one, by the researcher's own admission, is unreliable, and it just seems like there's a lot of work involved. And there's, like I said, there's easier ways to get local admin privileges or system privileges on a machine that are tried and true. They're proven. So this one, I think, is just a good reminder. These aren't specific things to BlueHammer, but I think this is a good time to take a step back, think about who has admin access on a machine. You don't want to make it easier for attackers to just kind of move around. So try to consider and apply the principle of least privilege on endpoints, just making sure that people only have the amount of privileges that they need, reduce the amount of local admin users on accounts, and for those administrators, those system administrators and defenders out there, make sure you have accounts that are separate. So you have your daily driver account that's just got regular privileges for you to do your day-to-day tasks, and then you have your admin accounts that are used for actually increasing your privileges when you need to do so. So just taking a step back, going back to basics on this one's a good reminder. Don't make it easier for attackers to just kind of come in and do what they want with once they land on a machine.
Next up, if you're hearing bugles playing reveille in the distance, it might just be because somebody's router got conscripted. Government advisories warned that Russian state-sponsored actors are hijacking Ubiquiti edge routers at scale, mostly through default credentials and unpatched flaws that no one got around to addressing because, come on, who's going to target a router? They're chaining these compromised devices into a relay network and using them to scoop up Microsoft 365 authentication tokens on the way. The traffic looks completely legitimate the whole way through, like it's coming from inside the house, because it is, while hiding that it's become voluntold GRU infrastructure. So, should teams be looking sideways at that network gear sitting between their users and their cloud identities, Mike?
All right. Yes. So here we are again. Fancy Bear, APT 28. These folks are out of Russia, typically aligned with their GRU. So a nation state attacker has been caught with their hands in the cookie jar, doing a very large mass DNS hijacking campaign, primarily on routers, unpatched routers. These are, commercial light and mostly home routers on people's networks, right? These are managed by ISPs. These are, cheap routers you get off Amazon. And effectively, what they were doing is exploiting pretty old bugs at this point. This isn't a crazy campaign. This isn't like 0 day. There's no AI component. This is just a very basic like exploit old bugs in routers because no one ever patches them. And let's all be honest, you know, no one patches routers. I don't expect people to. Most people don't even know the admin password to their router, let alone how to patch them, even if a patch is available. So if you do, great, go for it, patch your routers. But the reality is, I don't expect most home users who only gets a router through their ISP, or they only get a new router when something's broken, or they can't run marathon fast enough. So these people are not updating their routers regularly. They're not patching. They're going to have bugs that are old. And even if they did patch, these routers typically are not the most secure devices. And, it's not going to be that hard to find more bugs in them. It's just how these work. So we just cannot rely on commercial grade router, or we cannot rely on consumer grade routers to have high levels of security until we start forcing the ISPs to do it. The way this worked, basically, they get in there, they exploit your router, they install a DNS proxy, or they're hijacking DNS, and effectively what they're doing is redirecting you from login panel pages to bypass MFA. So you might have the strongest MFA, you might have very good authentication, but if you're on an attacker proxy, when you're legitimately logging in to your Microsoft account, and there's nothing you can do there, the token gets sent to the attacker and you probably won't even notice. So some things you can do here: running your own DNS proxy is very advantageous here. If you're using some kind of encrypted DNS, that can help as well. Try to do it as far down as you can, right? Like if you can run your own DNS proxy on your endpoints, that is great, or your users' endpoints. If you have a lot of home users, right, running your own DNS proxy on their devices can subvert some of this, right? It can block pages. You can at least see that it's happening. And I've seen this, on my networks where some DNS hijacking happens. I've had it happen in public mostly, but you can tell because things break, they don't work. It's very obvious when you're running your own DNS and controlling it at the endpoint level. So stay safe out there. This one's going to be around for a while.
Finally, new any percent AI hype speedrun just dropped. Attackers are actively exploiting a critical vulnerability in Flowise, the open source low-code platform that a lot of teams are using to drag and drop their way into building LLM apps without writing any code. The bug, which is a CVSS 10, because of course it is, lets anyone hit an exposed instance with unauthenticated remote code execution. And they're using that to steal API keys, pivot into whatever the platform is wired up to, and drop some crypto miners on the way out. A patch exists in version 3.0.6, but if you've got Flowise exposed to the internet, and a lot of teams do, because the whole point is rapid prototyping, update now. Hey Matt, what should teams be checking before they stand up that fun new shiny AI platform? And what should they do about all of those ones that they're already using?
This one's serious. We're talking about a 10.0 CVSS score, active exploitation, and a vulnerability that effectively hands over the keys to the kingdom. So let's break it down. This vulnerability exists in Flowise's custom MCP node, which is designed to connect AI to external services. And the problem's related to how it handles user input. Flowise takes configuration data provided by the user, runs it through a function intended to clean up JSON, but instead of actively parsing it, it executes that input as JavaScript code. That means an attacker can inject malicious code directly into the system, and because it runs inside Node.js, it has access to things like the file system, system commands, and any credentials or API keys in those workflows. No authentications required, no user interactions required either, and this is a full remote code execution scenario. None of this is theoretical. It's something we're already seeing being exploited in the wild. We're seeing attackers deploy cryptocurrency miners, extract API keys and credentials, and establish persistence on exploited hosts. And if you have a compromised system, they're using it as a foothold into broader environments. If you're running Flowise in your own environment or a client's environment, this isn't just an application-related issue. This is a full-blown network-level risk. So what should you do right now? Well, the first thing you should do is patch immediately. The issue has been resolved in version 3.0.6, so anything older than that needs immediate attention. Next, identify any exposed Flowise instances. Restrict access, ideally behind a VPN or simply keep it on a private network. Rotate any API keys or credentials that are stored in the workflows, and be sure to monitor for unusual activity, outbound connections that seem to be a little bit higher than normal, or high CPU usage on the system. If you have a system that is exposed to the internet, assume that it's compromised until you can prove otherwise. Now, this issue that we're talking about is about Flowise, but it goes much further than that. This is a pattern that we're seeing in emerging AI tools and low-code platforms. They tend to move fast, and security tends to lag behind. Now, a few practical guardrails for Flowise or any similar piece of software. First, don't expose AI tooling directly to the internet without access controls in place. Treat all of your stored prompts, API keys, and integrations as sensitive data. Isolate these systems from critical infrastructure. And always validate how user input's handled, especially anything that gets parsed or executed. If a platform is evaluating input dynamically, you should be asking how it's being sandboxed, if at all. AI tooling has become part of a standard stack for many, but it's also expanding the attack surface in ways that aren't always obvious. This vulnerability is a great reminder. Just because something is low code does not make it low risk. Stay patched, stay segmented, and keep a close eye on anything exposing automation to the outside world.
So, to recap, a Windows 0 day went public, no patch response yet. A Russian state actors building out a small business out of small business routers, and a popular AI builder is currently outperforming expectations as a crypto mining cluster. 3 reminders that sometimes the stuff that got deployed and then barely touched may still be hard at work, just not for you. As always, we'd love to hear your thoughts and questions in the comments. Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay safe out there.